So I'm going to cover some basics really quickly, just so I can finish up this video and go get something to eat. Alright, depression, the first symptom I ever experienced. How your body keeps you happy is that it takes an amino acid known as tryptophan. Ta-da! It's in a lot of food, not just turkey. It's in meat and a lot of other foods than just turkey. It takes tryptophan and it can convert it into several different things. It can convert it into things that are not good for you, like quinolinic acid, kynureninic acid. Those are not good. And in a lot of people, if they take a tryptophan supplement, their body could be turning the tryptophan into those things and making their problems worse. What you want is for your body to make the tryptophan into 5-HTP, which is the precursor to serotonin. And a lot of people have heard the word serotonin. They might not know that serotonin is something that makes a person passive. In high enough amounts, it will reduce your aggression. Serotonin's not really an antidepressant. N-AcetylSerotonin is an antidepressant, which is why when people take antidepressant drugs, yeah, their serotonin's going to go up, but it's going to take several weeks for them to feel the antidepressant effect, because it takes a while for the N-AcetylSerotonin to build up, okay? So knowing that, I forgot to mention to you, I've never been on an antidepressant. Okay, correction. For 72 hours I was on Wellbutrin. I had such a bad reaction to it. I had a mixed episode. I was angry, I was suicidal, I was sad, I had violent thoughts, but I did not act on them. I was crying, sitting on the curb in the parking lot because I had to get out of the apartment, because I knew that I was having so many conflicting emotions and thoughts that if I were in the apartment with my spouse, I was going to potentially do something I would later regret, and I needed space, I needed to get away. So I had a really bad reaction to Wellbutrin. So the only pharmaceutical medication I've ever been on, ever tried, was not longer than 3 or 4 days, and it was Wellbutrin. But if you know how your body utilizes amino acids and vitamins to affect your neurochemical profile, this is from the ground up. This is not just your body tinkering with things in your brain, okay? This is stuff happening in your whole body. Fundamental, basic, biochemical level of making things out of the food you eat, taking the food you eat, the macronutrients, protein, fiber, which, carbs falls in the category, fat, those are the macronutrients, okay? Micronutrients are like the B vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin D, things like that. Amino acids are things like tryptophan. And then there are essential fatty acids like omega-3, omega-6, omega-9. So all these things that you take into your body uses as building blocks for other things. You need everything necessary to turn these building blocks into neurotransmitters, into cortisol, into hormones that affect your sexual orientation, your libido, your attraction to others or lack thereof. So the body needs to be able to convert tryptophan into several other things, and after it makes serotonin and N-acetylserotonin, it makes something called melatonin. You might have heard of it. It helps you sleep, and it's quite normal that when you wake up, your melatonin levels will have dropped, and what helps you wake up is your histamine level. So when you go downstairs to eat breakfast and you eat histamine-containing foods or histamine-releasing foods like juice, like meat, like eggs, that wakes you up, gets you started for your day, and throughout the day, your histamine, which was high when you woke up to help you, get out of bed, your histamine is supposed to fall, your melatonin is supposed to rise. basically means that your body's converting that tryptophan into serotonin, N-acetylserotonin, and melatonin throughout the day until you're sleepy. So these levels change throughout a day, and this is normal. And if they're not doing it in the way that they're supposed to, it's going to affect your circadian rhythm. It's going to affect your sleep schedule. They find that this is common in individuals with bipolar disorder, that they're going to have really strange sleeping behavior. They're not going to follow a schedule regularly from one day to the next, from 1 week to the next. People who don't have these kinds of issues in their body, getting just basic components out of their nutrition and turning them into other things. So the major reason why I take niacin is because what niacin does is actually your body can make niacin if you're deficient. It can take tryptophan and it can take vitamin B2, riboflavin, and it can make niacin. B3 is basically B2 plus tryptophan. So knowing that, what I tell you next is important, that when you take niacin, your body uses it to release serotonin from platelets. It also uses niacin to cause a cascade of immune system function, where it converts omega-6 essential fatty acids to prostaglandin D2, which is very important for your immune system. It's very important for combating different types of inflammation. Inflammation is not entirely bad. There's good inflammation, there's bad inflammation, it's really the ratio, the balance. If you have too much of one kind of prostaglandin and not enough of another, you're going to have pain, okay? You're going to have muscles not doing what they're supposed to do. You're going to have a buildup of certain components in tissues, in muscles that it's not supposed to be there. Your body's supposed to be able to balance it out, get rid of excess. So, niacin is an antidepressant. It will also reduce aggression. That's why I take that. Riboflavin I take just to help my body, make into niacin if it needs to, or to use for other things such as lowering homocysteine. If you don't know what homocysteine is, I'll have to cover that another time. So, magnesium I take. A lot of people have not read about a pathway in the body, biochemical pathway known as the Catechol-O-MethylTransferase pathway. I call it COMT. Now, if you've ever read any of my comments on YouTube videos, I tend to mention this a lot because it's a big deal, especially in people with anxiety disorders, people who tend to preoccupy themselves with thoughts that are alarming, that are worrisome. They're frightened of things that they don't have control over, that they're not sure what's going to happen, that are unknown. They could have OCD, obsessive compulsive tendencies, perfectionist tendencies. They can be very critical. They can be easily startled. And that's basically the anxiety response. If I left anything out, I'm sorry. There are several different, clear indicators that someone is an anxious person, that their COMT pathway is not running as efficiently as it's supposed to. Now, this can be, as I said, because of stress. A person's dealing with a lot of stress, and their body can't keep up with breaking down these fight or flight hormones in the brain. They can't. The dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine is just too high. The levels are too high, and the magnesiums that the body uses to keep those excess levels low, the magnesium's too low while those are too high. So for some people, this is just a matter of dealing with too much at once, too much on their plate. For other people, it's genetic. There's actually a gene variant that can cause, they call it the neurotic gene. And it's a single nucleotide polymorphism. In science, this is called an SNP for short, or a SNP. If you've never heard of these technological terms before, I apologize. I'm breaking you in right now. And it is known as Val158-MET. Val is shorthand for valine. MET is shorthand for methionine. So basically on the gene, a person has a chance of being, they call it homozygous or heterozygous, which means that they will have two of the same, valine, valine, methionine, methionine, or they'll have one of each, a valine and a methionine. And this will affect their ability to utilize magnesium in the body in the COMT pathway to break down catechol-O-amines. Now, you might not know what a catechol-O-amine is, or sometimes I call them catecholamines, when I'm talking really fast, but they are the dopamine, the epinephrine, the norepinephrine, catechol-O-estrogen. So, again, a lot of these terms, I'm just slingshotting them at you and you don't know what they mean, but they're very important in terms of mood, aggression, psychosis, tension, physical anxiety, preoccupation. Okay, so to finish this up, anxious behaviors I've had since I was a kid, let's see. Biting fingernails. Any of you have this problem? Biting fingernails? If they get past a certain point on my fingers, I just want to bite them. It's a compulsive habit, nail biting. Okay, something else I used to do when I was a kid, ends of my hair, I would suck on them and I would bite them. Okay? If you are a person who has like nightmares or anxious dreams, stressful dreams, that's a sign that you have probably elevated fight or flight hormones, those adrenaline. Basically, epinephrine was commonly called adrenaline. Now it's called, we call it epinephrine. That's what it is. Epinephrine is adrenaline. Norepinephrine, noradrenaline. They're the same thing. So if you're worried a lot, you're having dreams about like showing up late to work, getting in a fight, just something happening in your life that you're not happy with, or that upsets you, you probably have elevated levels of these catecholamines. And any of you who studied schizophrenia know that the dopamine theory was pretty prominent for several years about elevated levels of dopamine probably influencing psychosis. They've realized in recent years that it's more elevated glutamate and norepinephrine that they should be looking at, and they've realized that neurons don't just transmit dopamine or glutamate, that they're actually bilingual neurons. They can send both. They can send either of these chemical messengers that they want. And in the brain of someone experiencing psychosis, there are just abnormally elevated levels of catecholamines and glutamate, and it's very kind of complex kind of profile that they're looking at. They can't just tweak one thing and solve the problem. But as far as anxiety goes, a person can have anxiety without having psychosis. But I would say that the higher and the higher and the higher and the higher these levels of catecholamines go unchecked without having an adequate level of magnesium to lower them, to allow the body to lower them naturally, this person could proceed into psychosis. They could proceed into dementia. They could proceed into other neurological problems. So if after watching this you start to think, wow, I didn't realize I was an anxious individual. I didn't realize that I could do something about it. Hopefully now you know, and you'll be willing to give magnesium a try. If it's liquid, you don't have to take as high of a dose because it absorbs better. Between 50 and 100 milligrams, I would take it in the afternoon, like after lunch, and then in the evening, like after dinner. You don't want to take it in the morning because you'll be too relaxed. You need some motivation to get your day going and have a little bit of tension, a little bit of stress, a little bit of hyperattentive focus is good for you. It's when you have too much that it's bad, and it can really stress your relationships and get you into just disagreements that are just ridiculous. Things like that complicate your life, make it more tense than it really needs to be. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you for listening. I might even make a part 3, like, I don't know, later when I think that I need to talk about something else, like get more into fish oil, things like that. So thank you for watching.